Imagine you get a new neighbor, and this guy is officially the worst thing to ever happen to your street. First, without even asking, he stakes out half your backyard and throws up his own personal garage on it. Then he takes a chainsaw to the oak trees you spent 15 years growing. Next, he's blasting music at 3 a.m., dumping chemicals into your well water, and, let's just be honest here, he keeps attacking or outright kidnapping your family members. What would you do? In a civilized society, the answer is obvious. You'd call the cops. You'd file a lawsuit. You'd rally every other neighbor on the block who got burned by this guy. You'd wait until he falls asleep and make his life such a living hell that he packs up a U-Haul and leaves town for good. That's not revenge. That's just common sense. Basic evolutionary justice. Now zoom out and look at a map of the planet. Humanity has been doing exactly that to the rest of nature for thousands of years. We seize territories from wildlife, bulldoze ancient rainforests, run interstate highways straight through migration corridors, pour toxins into the oceans, and drive entire species to extinction. Sometimes for fashion, sometimes for profit, sometimes just because we can. On paper, we are the single most brutal, most reckless, most unpredictable neighbor in the 4 billion year history of this planet. So why haven't the lions, bears, wolves, and elephants teamed up against us yet? Why aren't they coordinating attacks? Why hasn't a wolf pack staged a tactical raid on a suburban Costco? Why aren't grizzlies blocking the I-90 in protest? Why do animals, despite having terrifying physical power, quietly retreat deeper into the wilderness and never, ever seek revenge on humanity as a species? Today, we're going to break down this mind-blowing evolutionary paradox. Let's go. Hollywood has spent decades selling us the idea that wild animals are vengeful monsters just waiting for an excuse to declare a personal war on humans. From Jaws to Orca to the very real, very chaotic real-life bear of Cocaine Bear, the trope refuses to die. Here's the twist. In reality, animals actually do get revenge. Biologists have documented dozens of cases that will genuinely give you chills. The most famous happened in 1997, deep in the Siberian wilderness. A poacher named Vladimir Markov shot an Amur tiger, wounded it, and stole a chunk of its kill. What came next stunned even seasoned field scientists. The tiger didn't just get angry in the moment and move on. He tracked Markov entirely by scent, all the way to his hunting cabin. He arrived to find the man wasn't home, so he waited. But first, he systematically destroyed every single object at that cabin that carried Markov's smell. Boots, gloves, tools, anything. And then he sat down at the front door. And he waited 12 hours in sub-zero cold until the poacher came home. This is not a folktale. It is documented in detail in scientific records and later chronicled in John Valiant's book, The Tiger. Similar patterns play out with elephants across India and sub-Saharan Africa. Elephants are deeply social animals with extraordinary long-term memory. If a group of humans harms a herd, kills a calf, destroys a watering hole, surviving elephants have been observed returning to attack that specific village for years, while completely ignoring neighboring villages. They remember smells. They remember faces. So if animals are capable of this level of precise, targeted vengeance, why does it never escalate into a full-scale war against our species? Notice one crucial detail in every one of those revenge stories. It is always one animal, settling one personal score. They never build an army. And here's why. The way a wild animal's brain is wired simply does not allow for global, abstract thinking. To hate an entire species, to plot revenge against a civilization, you need abstract reasoning. You need to understand the concept of a species. For a wolf, a tiger, or a grizzly, that concept does not exist. There is no mental folder labeled Homo sapiens, the global enemy of nature. To a predator, the world is made of immediate, concrete objects, right here, right now. A bear can remember that a man in a red jacket carrying a stick is dangerous because that specific man caused him pain. But when the same bear encounters a totally different hiker the next day, his brain does not connect them to the same civilization. They register as completely separate creatures. A lion cannot understand that the tourist photographing him from a Land Rover and the poacher with a high-powered rifle in the next province are both members of the same species systematically dismantling his habitat. To the lion, they might as well be different animals entirely. Without the ability to group us all into one category called the enemy, systematic, species-level revenge is biologically impossible. Now let's run a thought experiment. Imagine, against all odds, that a genuinely brilliant animal emerges. A super-intelligent elephant. A wolf pack leader who somehow figures it all out and thinks, "These two-legged creatures are drying up our rivers and burning our forests. We have to do something." Even in that sci-fi scenario, Project Revenge would collapse immediately. Why? Because animals have no language capable of transmitting complex, abstract information across time and space. They have communication systems that would blow your mind. Dolphins call each other by individual names. Humpback whales broadcast songs across hundreds of miles of open ocean. Wolves relay precise territorial data through howls. An elderly matriarch elephant can guide her herd across a desert to a watering hole she visited 50 years ago and pass that route to the next generation. But no animal on Earth can narrate a story from the past or lay out a detailed plan for the future. An elephant cannot call a council and say, "Listen up. 30 years ago, humans built a railroad north of here. It killed half our ancestors. So next Friday, when the heavy rains come, we're going to gather herds from 3 neighboring valleys, and we're going to tear that train station apart." Animals cannot scale knowledge. The hard-won experience of that vengeful Siberian tiger dies with that tiger. He cannot write it down. He cannot lecture a room of young cubs on ambush tactics. Every single animal begins its relationship with humans from a completely blank slate. And finally, the most ruthlessly practical reason of all. Wild nature is not a movie studio. There is no budget for beautiful but pointless dramatic gestures. Every day for a large predator is a walk on the edge of starvation. Every single action is a cold calculation. How many calories will this burn? And what is the risk of injury? In the wild, any serious injury is essentially a death sentence. No emergency rooms, no antibiotics, no rehab. A broken leg is a slow death by starvation or predation. Now imagine launching an attack on a human settlement. Fire, firearms, guard dogs, a dozen panicked, loud, completely unpredictable primates. For what? To restore cosmic justice? Evolution has never heard of justice. Evolution only knows 2 words: adaptation and calories. The animal species that historically tried to fight back, that attacked humans recklessly or too aggressively, were simply eliminated, hunted down and exterminated over thousands of years. The individuals that survived, that successfully passed their genes forward, were the ones that mastered a single behavioral mode the moment they detected a human. Stay in the shadows. Don't engage. Find easier prey. The brain of a healthy predator will always choose a predictable deer or a rabbit over a bizarre, dangerous, tool-using biped. Every time, without hesitation. And so we arrive at a conclusion that is as fascinating as it is unsettling. Animals don't seek revenge on humanity, not because they've forgiven us, not because they possess some higher moral nobility, not because they love us. They don't seek revenge because they are simply too busy surviving. Every second of every day, they are desperately trying to stay alive in a world that we are remaking at a terrifying speed. Their brains are tuned to one frequency, the present moment. Protect the offspring in front of them, right now. Find food before nightfall. They don't have bandwidth for multi-generational grudges, complex ideologies, or species-level revenge plots. Animals remain locked inside the laws of nature, strict, brutal, and perfectly balanced. The ones who know how to hold a grudge across generations, who can organize into massive groups to destroy their own kind, who pursue revenge with meticulous, industrialized cruelty. Well, that species is currently watching this video on a smartphone. So the next time you're out hiking and you hear a branch snap in the dark behind you, just remember, whatever is out there isn't plotting a rebellion against you. It isn't nursing a grievance. It doesn't even have a category for you. It just wants you to leave. If this one made you think, hit subscribe. We do this every week. And drop in the comments, which animal do you think comes closest to genuine strategic thinking? I'll see you in the next one.